Welcome to your May 2026 astrology forecast. My name's Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. In this video, we are moving through this month with clarity and intention. We are going to start with the collective transits and what's happening in the sky and why that matters. And then we are going to ground that into how this is likely to manifest for my fellow Canadians. I will have timestamps listed below as well so that you can skip ahead to the portion of the video that you wish to watch. And then at the end, I will also be getting into briefly all 12 rising signs, of breaking the month down by week so that you can get an idea of what you will be navigating on a personal level for the month ahead. Now, also don't forget to watch all your weekly horoscopes here on this channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's get into the May 2026 monthly overview. So May is not a subtle month. This is a month of exposure, recalibration, and restructuring. Not everything is falling apart, but everything is being revealed so that it can be rebuilt properly. So right at the beginning of the month on May 1st, we have a full moon in Scorpio. Now, full moons bring culmination, emotional intensity, and truth to the surface. Scorpio brings what's hidden, shared resources, debt, power, and psychological depth. So collectively, this is about exposure. Financial realities, emotional undercurrents, and power dynamics are becoming impossible to ignore at this time. Now, immediately right after, we have Mercury moving into Taurus May 2nd. Mercury is communication and decision making. Taurus slows things down. This is where we shift from emotional reaction into practical thinking, especially around money stability and long-term planning. This is grounded energy, but it requires patience. Then we get to May 4th, and we have Mars in Aries forming a square to Jupiter in Cancer. This is tension between action and expansion. Mars wants to act now. Jupiter amplifies emotion and reaction. So Aries is impulsive and Cancer is protective. This creates a dynamic where reactions can escalate really quickly, especially if there isn't any awareness. This is where overextension, conflict, or emotional decision-making can take over. Then we get to May 6th, and Pluto stations retrograde in Aquarius. This is one of the deeper layers of the month. Pluto governs power, control, and transformation. Aquarius governs systems, society, and the collective future. Now, Pluto is something we will feel more so on the world stage, not so much in our own personal lives, but its energy intensifies. So this is a period of reviewing systems, where power is held, how it's being used, and what needs to change. This is not surface level. This is foundational. And then we get to mid-month, and on May 14th, we have the Mercury cazimi in Taurus. This is a moment of clarity. Something becomes very clear around finances, values, and stability. It's like a spotlight moment where confusion lifts and direction becomes obvious. This is where we receive a lot of clarity, intuitive downloads, and guidance. And then on May 16th, we have a new moon in Taurus. This is a reset point. After everything that was exposed at the beginning of the month, this is where we begin to rebuild. This is about creating stability, security, and comfort. Then we get to May 17th, and we have Mercury entering Gemini, which then immediately forms a conjunction to Uranus. This is where everything speeds up. Gemini governs communication, media, and information. Uranus disrupts and shocks. So this is rapid information exchange, sudden announcements, unexpected shifts. Things can change really quickly here. Then on May 18th, Venus enters Cancer and Mars enters Taurus. Now we are emotionally invested in stability. Venus in Cancer wants security and comfort. Mars in Taurus slows things down. Mars in Taurus wants deliberate action toward financial and material goals. As the Sun enters Gemini on May 20th, communication becomes the dominant theme. And then on May 22nd, Venus is going to form a square to Neptune, and the Sun is going to form a conjunction to Uranus. So this is when we hit a moment where clarity and confusion coexist. Uranus disrupts, but Neptune blurs. Not everything you hear is going to be reliable at this time, so discernment is going to be essential. And then on May 25th, Mars in Taurus is going to form a square to Pluto in Aquarius. This is intense. This is power struggles, particularly around resources and control. This is where we can experience power and control dynamics. Fixed signs don't like to budge, so this can feel like pressure building. Then we close the month off with a full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st. We have two full moons in the month of May. On the first day of the month, we open the month with a full moon and we close the month with a full moon on the last day. So this brings culmination around truth, belief systems, and perspective. This is when we step back and understand the bigger picture. So now let's get into how this fits in with Canada and how this can show up for Canadians. With Canada's Aries Rising chart, this Scorpio full moon can activate Canada's eighth house of shared resources, debt, taxation, and financial systems. This can manifest as increased focus on national debt, mortgage stress, or financial policy discussions. Something hidden within financial systems becomes visible. For Canadians, this is about confronting financial reality directly. Now, Mercury in Taurus is going to activate Canada's second house of income, resources, and cost of living. This can bring practical conversations around economic stability, budgeting, and resource management. This is where we see grounded discussions about financial planning at a national level. And then the Mars-Jupiter square activates Canada's first and fourth houses. This is leadership versus the people. So this can look like tension between government decisions and public response. Emotional reactions can be heightened at this time. This is where we may see strong public opinion or pushback. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is going to activate Canada's 11th house of government systems, alliances, and collective direction. This is systematic review. Policies, structures, and long-term strategies are being reassessed. And then the new moon in Taurus is a reset for the financial narrative. This can look like new economic strategies or shifts in how resources are managed. For individuals, this is a powerful time to create new financial habits. And then the Mercury conjunction to Uranus and Gemini is activating Canada's third house. This is media, communication, and information systems. This can bring rapid news cycles, unexpected announcements, or shifts in messaging. Not all information is going to be clear at this time, and so discernment is going to be key. And then Venus entering Cancer and Mars entering Taurus is activating Canada's fourth and second houses. And this can bring focus to housing affordability and financial stability, all tied to home life. And then the Mars square to Pluto is activating Canada's second and 11th house. And this is money and systems. This can manifest as tension within financial systems or between institutions and governance. Then the Sagittarius full moon activates Canada's ninth house of global positioning, trade, and international relations. This can bring developments in Canada's role globally or shifts in perspective. So overall, for Canadians, this month can feel like financial pressure, rapid information shifts, and a deeper questioning of systems. The question here is grounded awareness. Stay informed, but not overwhelmed. Try not to focus too much on the news or what you are seeing online. Focus on what you can control. And always please use your discernment because not everything is true. And most importantly, please take care of your energy. I hope you have a fabulous month, my fellow Canadians. Now let's bring this into all of the 12 rising signs so you can all get an idea of how this is showing up for each and every one of you in your day-to-day life. Aries Rising, this month is deeply financial and psychological for you. As we move through week one, the Scorpio full moon activates your eighth house, and this is where you are confronted with shared finances, debt, or emotional entanglements that have been lingering under the surface. You may feel a sense of pressure or intensity here, especially if something has been avoided. As you move into week two, the energy shifts into your second house with the Mercury Cazimi and the new moon in Taurus. And this is where you begin rebuilding new financial plans, new income strategies, or redefining your sense of self-worth. And then week three accelerates your third house as Mercury enters Gemini. Your mind speeds up, conversations increase, and you may feel more pulled into multiple directions. But try to stay focused. Don't scatter your energy. And then by week four, the Mars-Pluto square activates your second and your 11th houses. And this can feel like pressure around money tied to long-term goals or external expectations. The key is strategic action, not reactive decisions. Taurus Rising. This is a month of identity and relationship recalibration. Week 1 brings the Scorpio full moon into your 7th house, illuminating your relationships. You're seeing clearly where things stand. This can bring clarity, but also tension if something has been imbalanced. And then as you move into week 2, you begin your reset point as the Mercury Cazimi and the Taurus New Moon all activate your 1st house. This is about you, your identity, your direction, and how you are showing up in the world. You are redefining yourself, and that may require letting go of old versions of who you've been. And then as you approach week 3, the energy shifts into your 2nd house with fast-moving Gemini energy. Financial decisions, conversations, and opportunities may come in quickly. Stay grounded in your values. And then as we get to week 4, this brings tension between your personal direction and external systems, or even expectations. You may feel pressure to compromise who you are for stability, but don't. Gemini Rising. This month is asking you to balance movement with rest. Week 1 activates your 6th house with that Scorpio full moon, so your work, routines, and health come into focus. You may realize where you've been overextending yourself. And then as you navigate into week 2, the energy moves into your 12th house, which is slowing everything down, which is necessary at this point. You may feel more introspective, emotional, or even tired, but don't fight it. This is a recalibration period. And then as you get to week 3, this is your activation point as Mercury enters your sign and everything speeds up. Your communication, thinking, and decision-making all start to move quickly. And then as you get to week 4, this brings deeper intensity as Mars and Pluto activate your subconscious and your belief systems. And you may feel internal pressure to change directions, but just trust what's surfacing. Don't rush the process. Cancer Rising. This month is emotional, but also clarifying. Week 1 activates your 5th house with the Scorpio full moon, and this is about joy, creativity, romance, and emotional expression. Something becomes very clear about what truly fulfills you. And then week 2 shifts your energy into your 11th house. You're reassessing your community, your friendships, your long-term goals. Who you are surrounding yourself with starts to matter a lot more right now. And then week 3 moves into your 12th house, and this is bringing everything internal. You may feel more withdrawn or reflective. This is not isolation, it's integration. This is a time for reflection. And then week 4 brings tension between your inner world and your external expectations because we have that Mars square to Pluto. So this is a time to protect your emotional energy and don't overcommit. Leo Rising. This is a foundational month for you. Week 1 activates your 4th house of home, family, and emotional security. You may be addressing something that's been sitting beneath the surface. Week 2 activates your 10th house. Now your focus shifts to your career and visibility in your public direction. You're being asked to step up, but from a grounded place. And then week 3 brings your focus to your 11th house of networking, communication, and social dynamics. Opportunities may come through connections. Week 4 brings tension between your public life and your private needs because of that Mars-Pluto square. And so this is a time to make sure you're not sacrificing your foundation for your external success. Virgo Rising. This month is about shifting your perspective and how you communicate. Week 1 activates your 3rd house with the Scorpio full moon. Conversations, information, and mental patterns come into focus. You may have a realization that changes how you think or communicate. Week 2 activates your 9th house. This expands your perspective. You may be learning something new or questioning old beliefs. Week 3 accelerates your 10th house, so career movement, visibility, and responsibility all increase. Week 4 brings tension between your responsibilities and your belief systems because of the Mars-Pluto square. You may feel pulled between what's expected and what feels true. So this is a time to try to stay aligned with your values. Libra Rising. This is a deeply financial and value-based month for you. Week 1 activates your 2nd house of money, income, and self-worth. You may be seeing clearly where you stand financially. Week 2 activates your 8th house, which goes much deeper into shared resources, debt, and emotional attachments. You're being asked to release what isn't sustainable. Week 3 accelerates your 9th house, so you're starting to focus more on learning, communication, and expansion. Week 4 is where we start to experience some tension because of the Mars-Pluto square. So you may experience some financial power dynamic. This is a time to try to avoid emotional spending or reacting out of fear. Try to stay grounded. Scorpio Rising. This is a defining month for your identity and relationships. Week 1 is your full moon in the first house. This is visibility, truth, and self-awareness. You are seeing yourself clearly, and others are seeing you clearly too. Week 2 activates your 7th house of relationships, and so you are redefining dynamics and boundaries at this point. Week 3 accelerates your 8th house, so financial and emotional intensity increases. Week 4 brings power struggles in relationships and shared resources because of the Mars-Pluto square. This is a time to try to stay grounded in your truth without trying to control others. Sagittarius Rising. This month is about closure and renewal. Week 1 activates your 12th house. There's endings, reflection, and subconscious processing. You may feel the need to pull back. Week 2 activates your 6th house. So now it's about rebuilding routine, structure, and daily life. Week 3 activates your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. So relationships become more active and communicative. Week 4 brings your full moon into the first house. So this is clarity around who you are and where you're going. But this is also a time that could feel quite intense because of the Mars-Pluto square. So this is a time to act with intention and awareness. Capricorn Rising. This month is about your environment and your expression. Week 1 activates your 11th house of community, friendships, and long-term goals. You may be reassessing who you're aligned with. Week 2 activates your 5th house of creativity, joy, and self-expression. This is all grabbing your attention at this time. Week 3 accelerates your 6th house of work, routines, and your schedule. Week 4, your attention is brought to tension possibly between your responsibility and your need for rest and joy. So don't ignore what is brought to the surface. Don't ignore what brings you back to yourself. Aquarius Rising. This is a powerful month for your direction. Week 1 activates your 10th house of career, visibility, and public life. Something may be coming to the surface at this time to redirect your path forward. Week 2 activates your 4th house of home, family, and emotional dynamics. You're being asked to ground yourself emotionally. Week 3 accelerates your 5th house of creativity and communication and self-expression. Week 4 can bring some power dynamics in your career and public role with the Mars-Pluto square. So this is a time to just stay authentic and don't compromise your values for control. Pisces Rising. This month is about perspective and grounding. Week 1 activates your 9th house of beliefs, learning, and expansion. You may be questioning your direction. Week 2 activates your 3rd house of communication, learning, and daily interactions. Week 3 activates your 4th house of home, family, and your emotional foundation. So those areas of life become a lot more important. And then week 4 brings tension between your vision and your reality because of the Mars-Pluto square. So this is a time to stay grounded in what is tangible while still honoring your bigger picture.